Anyway, that's my rant about Pizza Hut. Just so they change it to Pasta Hut, I ain't going back, that's for sure. Finding the right tenants. Who finds this problematic? Is it just good finding the tenants? Are you happy with that? Is that a no?
No, I'd like to know a bit of detail around the background, history, if there's any credit problems, employment history, that sort of thing.
Okay. And typical typical rental figures for your properties are roughly? How many DSS do you have?
None.
Okay. Would you credit check DSS?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think they pass?
No.
No, exactly.
I personally don't deal with DSS.
Okay. I'm going to pick on you now. Any particular reason why? Oh, no, I'll start again. Any properties sub 80,000 in your portfolio?
No.
Okay. Forget that then.
But to be fair, I probably had a prejudice before
Right.
I walked in here, and I've listened.
What, against fat Welsh people?
No, I think to be honest, I picked up, views about DSS and problematic, them being problematic tenants, and actually, I think that's a prejudice because that's not always the case.
Exactly. Do you know what percentage of tenants in the UK are problematic? Pluck it. Give me a number. Percentage. 50%? Who ranks 50% and above are problematic?
3.
Who's read my notes? I know I shouldn't have gone for a wee earlier on. Yeah, 3% of tenants are problematic. That's not just DSS or private, that's across the board. So, as I said, people have issues with DSS because they think the properties are going to get trashed. Okay. Example, you've got a property renting out for £450 a month. I'm thinking of London there, £450 a week. Yeah, £450 a month to a private tenant. Or you're renting out because you've got a DSS tenant getting a very good local housing authority rate, so they're paying £500 a month. Which one's going to trash your property? Exactly, good answer. 6 months down the line, your private tenant, or 12 months down the line, what are they potentially going to do? Leave, exactly. A lot of people on private tenancies, they are looking, especially on 6 and 12 months ASTs, to get on the property ladder. Most people are looking eventually to get on the property ladder. What's somebody who's long-term DSS or single parent on housing benefits not going to be doing in the short, medium or long term? Exactly. So what are they more likely to do? Treat it as a house or a home? So that's one thing to think about. I'm not saying, always look at DSS. It all comes down to the maths. So, yes, sir?
They're also not likely to lose their income.
Sorry?
They're also not
Exactly. Good point, yeah. So there's a chance that if they're getting, if anyone wants to get the website details from me, I'll email them to you. There's a very good website. It's the local housing allowance website. And it basically, you put in a postcode area, put in the number of bedrooms in a property, whether it's a 1-bed shared, 1-bed self-contained, 2-bed, 3-bed, 4-bed, 5, whatever, and it will give you an average figure of what they will pay local housing authority rates within a particular postcoded area. So then you can get a fairly good indication of how much somebody's going to get. If you know for well that's enough to cover your mortgage, as a gentleman said, even if they're on minimum wage and they lose their job, their benefits still get paid, they're still going to get their housing paid for them. If you've got a private tenant, their job goes, and they're paying £500 a month rental, benefits people don't step in immediately and say, yeah, we'll just carry on paying your rental for you. It doesn't work like that. They'd have to move out and then look for someone else. They might go back into your property, they might go into council property, because there's an abundance of council properties out there at the moment, isn't there? No. Yes?
What was the website called?
If you give me, I'll make a note of everyone's email address at the end. What we have at the end of the presentation, in fact, I've taken out of there because it's pages and pages of different contacts and things like that. But if you go onto Google or any search engine, just type in local housing allowance, and it'll take you to the gov.co.uk website. As I said, postcode, number of bedrooms. It's not an exact figure, but it gives you a very good idea. So if you're looking at a property and you think roughly how much I can rent it out for to DSS or people on, because it's not always DSS, sometimes it's people on lower wages, still get a housing allowance. So they might pay 50% of the rental themselves, the other 50% is covered by the local housing authority. So it's always worth looking at that. So you're right, if somebody suddenly thinks, well, actually, I'm better off renting to a DSS tenant, they're not all bad. You can get some very, very good ones. Just understanding, if you buy a property for £60,000 on a housing estate, you're not going to get too many private tenants looking to go into there. But you'll have a huge demand for DSS or low-income families to move into those kind of places. So, and normally, you will find the LHA rates pay you slightly more than private. There is a point when that flips, and suddenly private rental does work out a lot more cost-effective. But when you're looking at your sub-80K kind of properties, I'd say 80% go to DSS-type tenants. I was saying earlier on, I'm not sure who was here or who wasn't. Myself and James did one in Excel a couple of weeks ago. There was a lady there from one of the East London councils, and she deals with housing. And, I mean, James, she basically backed up everything we said. The demand for property from private landlords is incredible. I mean, who lives in an area where council houses are being built right now? Yeah, exactly. It always raises a laugh, yeah. Nowhere is. South Coast, there's a demand for around about 500,000 properties, and they have a supply of 300,000. There aren't hundreds of tents or thousands of tents going up all over the South Coast. People are having to go to private landlords. So if you register with a county council or housing authority, it's well worth looking at DSS. Yeah, sorry, yes, at the back, sorry.
Is there a website or somewhere you can check the demand for different areas?
Speak to your county council. What part of the UK are you from?
Sorry?
What part of the UK? Okay, speak to your local borough. London is through the roof. Rental demand is ridiculous, especially East London. Just speak to your local borough council and say, I'm a landlord, these are my properties, these are where they are. They'll come and view them. If they're suitable, they'll rip your arm off for tenants, or to put tenants in there. Simple as that.
There's a new thing now with councils as well, is they're giving grants.
Mm-hmm.
So if you say to the council, I'll give you my property for 2 years to rent out at this amount of money, and they actually give you grants.
Some of them will actually cover void periods as well. You can
they do that.
You can get organisations who will cover your voids. You agree a rental amount. It might be, say, £50 a month less than you get if you did it privately or whatever, but they will guarantee any voids as well, because that is the demand for property at the moment in the UK.
Right.
Yep.
I must be missing something, but I thought the point of being a DSS person is that you're supposed to get a job. So some percentage of DSS people, I don't know whether it's 20% or 30% or 50%, very soon then go on to get jobs.
Yeah, but same thing again.
With DSS.
And I'm not, as I said, non-exact science, but I mean, DSS do work out to be, I mean, you know, perfect world employment zero when there are no DSS, but that isn't the reality of it. If you've got somebody and they're on a 6 or 12-month AST tenancy, chances are, if they're a private tenant, they're looking to move up the property ladder at some stage. Somebody who's on DSS, no disrespect, but if somebody's been long-term DSS, they're not going to suddenly go to a £50,000 a year job where they're looking to rent somewhere really plush. Chances are that they'll still be on a minimum wage, so they'll still qualify for local housing subsidy anyway.
So what we're talking about when we're talking about DSS is we're talking about those who are really pretty much stuck.
Yeah. I'm not talking somebody who's lost their job one day, signs on for a month, and then suddenly they got their next job. But if you go to a county council or any housing authority, they will have an enormous supply of people who are looking for properties, and a high percentage of those will either be DSS or lower income families.